Okay, can you hear me now? Is that clear, the audio?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, my internet connection is failing a little bit, so I'm gonna use my cell phone, okay? That's why the recording maybe is not at the moment, but the live stream is open now. So it's possible to make it. Give me, please, a minute to open the slides and then we start, okay? Okay, can you watch my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry for working from my cell phone, but my laptop is not working properly with the internet connection. So it's not possible to make it in another way. It's when we travels since the final test on Thursday. And well, it's been so hard to correct it. So please, for tonight, let's have a little bit of patience, please. Let's start. Okay, tonight we have a not too long presentation. We are going to talk about basic investigations and the medical context. So let's see. When we talk about basic investigations, we are considering what an investigation is at the beginning. I mean, what we really have to know about it is the context, the meaning of this idea. So when we talk about an investigation, we have to consider this. This is the systematic and thorough examination or inquire into something or someone, to collection of facts or information and the recording of this examination or inquiry in a report. So this process, of course, is not as easy as it looks. As we were talking at the previous, in module 1, we must consider that we really need to study about it. We really need to get in maybe with a professor who has this kind of studies, and then ensure that we are making a good job. So it's not for making just once, we need time to do it. As an extra data, we must consider that the word investigate can be traced back to the Latin word investigare, when the meaning is to search into, and investigare is based on another Latin word, investigare, meaning track or trace. So considering this detail, yeah, we can go ahead. What is a medical investigation? Of course, investigation as a general view is the concept we are watching now. But the medical investigation are all the complementary studies that we as doctors, as a health providers, we request in order to support our diagnosis. That's why our medical thought is so important, because we have to get in context, we have to get in mind that according to the situation that the patient is suffering from, we can ask for investigations that are focused on this topic. It's not sending everything because of, yes, we have protocols, we must follow them. So in that way, we take in account laboratory investigations, imaging investigations, and the rest of investigations, invasive and non-invasive, for making it easier. Well, again, a joke. I love jokes. Procedures that we make, the easiest ones, the non-invasive at this point. These non-invasive ones are taking the blood pressure, again, abbreviations, consider them, the BP, the heart rate, and the respiratory rate, the temperature, the core temperature, the blood oxygen, that could be from arterial blood gas, ABG, as an invasive one, and the non-invasive, the oxygen saturation, SpO2 or O2 sat, and the ophthalmoscopy. Why we are taking in account the ophthalmoscopy? Because USA, Europe as a general view, Canada, you have the chance to develop the ophthalmoscopy in the emergency room as a routine. Why? Because with that, information, sometimes you can infer on some complications that are in the pathology we are taking in account. In diabetes, in hypertension, of course, we should develop this procedure, but we don't always do that because of time, or maybe we don't have the device. But considering this, that's a procedure that we should try to make it. Well, we always have to consider this idea. Treat the patient, not the monitor. Just as a general view, you might see this kind of information with abbreviations in the column that is with black and abbreviations, and values normal or abnormal according to that. Just for making a review, for taking it in count, because it's important to consider that this information is important at this point. And we have this text just showing you some ideas, some expressions that we should consider and take in count. Neil, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Perfect. Can you read this paragraph, please?
Okay, vital signs provide the clinician with an overall snapshot of a patient's well-being and can help determine treatment and management plans for patients. When taking into consideration with other data points and the entire patient as a whole. When vital signs are abnormal, first checks to see how the patient is doing. If they appear well but the vital signs suggest otherwise, remember to treat the patient as a whole and not just individual numbers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neil. Alexander Tatarin is a nurse in USA. He's working at the emergency room. I don't remember exactly the hospital, I'm sorry, but he has some books when he's trying to get it into consciousness that we should consider this, try the patient as an overall snapshot. Vital signs, the monitor is just showing us number at the moment, just for that specifically period of time, not always, of course. We set the monitor, we establish how the frequency we need the device to take the vital signs, and according to that, it's going to work and show us the traces, the values, and it's a very nice equipment, of course. We have the chance to work with this in all careers in health providers. Careers, I mean, we have the chance to check at least once or twice maybe while being a student, but when you become a doctor, nurse, a vet, well, you know your own career, you have the chance to use these devices. So when we say treating the patient as a whole, the overall snapshot, taking how the patient is doing, is for considering that these values could change and not showing the correct situation, right? That's why it's important to check the clinical moment, the clinical situation at the moment, right? Let's talk about the stethoscope, one of the most important devices we use in all the careers. So we have to recognize this guy, Lenac. Lenac is the father of the stethoscope, the one who developed this device in order to avoid contact with ladies, because in the age this device was done, as you can see, doctors should place the ear on the chest patient. They had to go and take in contact, skin by skin, we can say. Sometimes they should circle the patient and get closer. If there was a man, there was no trouble on this. But when there was a lady, well, that was a problem. René Lenaxo developed this device, the stethoscope. You have some models on the first ones in the pictures, in the slides. And they had a chance to hear clearly without skin contact, avoiding infections. And well, that's a good advance in that moment. Nowadays, of course, we have the chance to use electronic ones that are recording the traces. Well, very sophisticated, but the basic one is this one. The one that we use all the time is this one. And of course, it has its own parts, right? The air tips, binaural spring, the flexive tubing or rubber tube, the stem, the drum, the bell, well, the bell with the hole, and the diaphragm. Was easy, we all know about it, just for taking it in count. And as a company, I think both of them are always together, the sphygmomanometer. Of course, extremely useful for the blood pressure, the basic one. And of course, it's parts to consider that when we have to talk about it, we have to know which structure, which part we are talking about. We have the air release valve, inflation valve, pressure cuff, tube connectors, aneroid manometer gauge, index marking, artery position or indicator level, left or right arm, it's according to the place. Well, we all know about it, just for making a review. Take them in count, okay? When we know the material we are going to use, the devices we really need, we have to consider how to take the blood pressure and what it is. Andrea, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Yes, I can.
Thank you, Andrea. Can you read this slide, please?
Yes, of course. Blood pressure. Blood pressure is a non-invasive procedure that measures the pressure of circulating blood against a blood vessel wall. The top number, known as the systolic blood pressure, is the amount of pressure that your heart pumps through your arteries and entire body. The bottom number is known as the diastolic blood pressure, is the amount of pressure in the arteries and body when your heart is at rest.
Thank you so much. So you can see it's the general definition, we all know about it. In English, maybe sounds different, but of course it's the same every time. And how it works, we all know that we have the basis about it. We know the cuff makes pressure on the arteries. And then we have the chance to control how the blood is feeling. Again, we have the picture here, and according to that, we hear the different sounds. That's why it's possible to make it, right? But of course, nowadays we have electronic devices, and we must consider this, we must take in count. When we talk about the electronic devices, we consider some different parts, we can say. The display, well, the screen of this with the values, the air jack or the air plug. We have the marker for placing the cuff, the arm cuff, again, the air tube and air plug. So we all know about it, but it's very important the position. When we work with the arm cuff, it's the same that the sphygmomanometer, the conventional one, the manual one. But when we go to the wrist, we consider this different one. You have to place with the hand in this position, being relaxed, take 2 fingers from the articulation line and place the device as if the patient is looking to the display. Then you start with this, with the patient in a relaxed position. It's better if the patient is seated. Just as a general view for taking it in count. Well, we have some tips to consider this, just extra information for catching vocabulary. But I think it's interesting to talk about it. Of course, we have to read the manual. The patient has to rest for 3 minutes before the measuring. Then the patient has to rest the elbow on the table and hold the wrist at heart level. We all know about it, the same as the sphygmomanometer, the manual one. And use only on your left wrist. It's not for left or right. It's according, by my experience, to the device you use, to the equipment you use. It could be left or right, but if the manual says just left, it's just left. A problem these devices have is, for example, the worst I found by experience is that the battery is low. It's taking a wrong value. That's why we have to consider this. We have to check all the time how the batteries are going on. And if they're in the half value, it's not possible to work properly. Yeah, personal advice. And the boss says, I mean, this slide, just the values about from the American Heart Association, the values we consider when we talk about the blood pressure. Just extra information, you can read this for taking the vocabulary. We'll talk properly about it. Again, according to the age, how it changes, how we must consider this. And now let's go to the, okay, this is from ages. To consider is the minimum, the normal, and the maximum value for taking account. And now let's consider the heart rate, the pulse. We have the HR as an abbreviation or just the P. I forgot to add it. I'm gonna correct it previously sending to you. Let me see. Let me see. Belen, can you hear me? Belen. Okay. Danielle, can you hear me? Okay, she's working.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, perfect, Danielle. Thank you. Can you read this slide, please?
The amount of time the heartbeats per minute is BPM. Wave of blood carries each time the left ventricle of the heart contracts. Each pulse beat is one cardiac cycle of one heartbeat. Normal heartbeat is about 7 times per minute. Increases oxygen results in faster pulse rate. Tachycardia is a pulse rate above 100 BPM and bradycardia is a pulse rate below 60 BPM.
Thank you so much. Yeah, now general information about it. We all know about it. We have these values, we take them in account. And now here you can see BPM is the abbreviation when we talk about it, beats per minute, as the first line is showing us. Try to talk in the same way that Daniel was reading. BPM is correct. That's the way to do it, okay? Just as an extra slide for taking vocabulary, we have the different values according to the age for taking account. Don't worry about it. And now the common pulse sites. We have to consider them. That's why anatomical references are very important for us. We all know about it. We have the chance to do it, to take it in account. So let's check this. We have the common pulses, the radial, the brachial, carotid, temporal, femoral, popliteal, posterior tibial, dorsalis peris, apical. Of course, according to the situation, we choose which one is the best. We choose the moment to take in anyone. We know about it. Just extra information, okay? Well, again, for taking vocabulary, let's consider this. The steps in measuring a radial pulse. We have some steps to follow. Of course, we all know got this information from the medical school, from college. But it's important, I think, to take into consideration this. Let me see. Diego, can you hear me? Diego. Okay. Carla, can you hear
No,
me?
no, sorry. I was having trouble with the microphone, teacher. So,
Okay.
steps in measuring a radial pulse rate. Well, step 1, perform hand IgG, identify the patient. Step 2, explain procedure to the patient and ask the patient about any recent physical activity or smoke. Step 3, ask patient to sit down and place arm in a comfortable, supported position. Step 4, place fingertips on radial artery and thumb side of wrist. Step 5, check quality of pulse.
Thank you. So
Sorry,
you can
teacher.
see, no, don't worry about it. Thanks for answering. So you can see we have the chance to follow these steps, and we have until 9. Carla, can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Please, let's continue, please, reading this slide.
Okay. Step 9, perform hand hygiene and record the pulse
Yes, please,
beats
from
per minute
7
in the
from
patient's
6 to 9,
record.
please, I'm sorry.
Step 8, immediately write the pulse beats per minute on a piece of paper. Sorry.
Carla,
Step 7,
Carla,
count the
Carla.
pulse
Wow.
on 1 full minute. And step 6, start counting pulse beats when seconds had on watch is at 3, 6, 9, or 12.
Okay, thank you, but you were reading by the opposite order. There's no trouble. Just follow the
Yeah,
number.
sorry.
It happens, don't worry about it. We all know the idea. We have these slides for catching vocabulary and getting how to explain this kind of procedures. It's important to know about it, how to give these ideas. And following this, of course, we make a review on this. About the respiratory rate, well, we have the chance to consider, first of all, the respiratory rate abbreviation, RR. And well, we have this. The respiratory rate is the rate which breathing occurs. This is usually measured in breaths per minute and is set and controlled by the respiratory center. We all know about it. The pattern, effort, and volume of respiration may be more indicative of altered respiratory physiology. Several pre-hospital and hospital-based illness or injury severity scores feature the RR as the cardinal value. We all know about it, just for taking into account the meaning. But of course, we have some steps to follow this, to organize this. Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Can you read the slide, please?
Steps to measuring respirations. Step 1, perform hand hygiene. Step 2, identify the patient, assist the patient into a comfortable position. Step 3, place hand on the patient's wrist in position to take the pulse. Step 4, observe and count each breathing cycle. Step 5, count for 1 full minute. Step 6, record respiratory rate in the patient's chart.
Thank you so much. As you can see, we are treating the patient. Yeah. While patients think we are taking pulse, actually we are taking the respirations. Yeah. About the core temperature, it's a very important value, well, of course. We all now have the chance to be in that situation to control a patient with a different temperature, fever, the usual one. And while the core body temperature is the temperature of the body's internal organs. A normal body temperature ranges between 36.5 and 37.4 Celsius grades. But temperature readings vary depending on where it is measured. Car body's temperature refers to the temperature of the body's internal organs, such as the heart, liver, brain, and blood. Just as a general information, we all know about it, but this chart is from an article. Actually, I'm gonna look for the fonts, which article is coming from. But in this diagram, we can consider the differences according to the parts of the body, how it works in a cool ambient temperature, in a warm ambient temperature, and how it changes in phase, how it changes in different parts of the body. This paragraph is showing us this difference, is explaining a little bit how it changes. Extra information, maybe a plus while taking the temperature. We don't run mad if we get different values. Extra one. But now in this slide we can see the common places to take it. The oral temperature, the tympanic temperature, the rectal temperature. Insert about 1 inch, take it into consideration for the rectal one. We have the skin temperature, the temporal or frontal temperature, and the armpit temperature or axillary temperature. My personal opinion, the skin temperature, well, I don't like it too much, but it's according to the experience that all of us get during the time, through this time, right? So it's a personal choice where to take it. But the most common ones, temporal or frontal now in pandemic times, and of course, the oral, the axillary too. For kids, tympanic is the best. So just extra, and babies, the rectal one. Let's talk about blood oxygen. A general view of this, of course. Paul, can you hear me? Paul? Okay. Pamela, can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Can you repeat?
Blood oxygen. Your blood oxygen level measures how much oxygen is circulating with your red blood cells. You can measure your blood oxygen levels with a pulse oximeter. That's a small device that clips onto your fingertip. It shines a light into the tiny blood vessels in your finger and measures the oxygen from the lights that's reflected back.
Thank you. So you can see this device, of course, very useful. We all have the chance to work with this. During the pandemic times, it was a basic one during the evaluation, the physical exam. So we all know how to perform this. As this paragraph says, this device sends a light, a laser light, that takes into consideration the level of oxygen that is in the blood at the moment on the fingertip. Of course, it can be with some failures, with some mistakes, we can say, and that's why we have to take it in count. There is an article, I'm gonna look for it into my cell phone because I couldn't find it in the afternoon, but when there is reported that with the hand you use the most, I mean, if you're left-handed or right-handed, according to the hand you write down, using the middle finger is the best place to take the blood oxygen. Why? Because of the exercise about writing down, you have more vessels, blood vessels in that part, in the thumb and the middle finger. So with them, you have the chance to get the correct value at the moment. And a contraindication for using this device is, for example, to get your nails with a black paint nail or a so dark. black, blue, brown, dark brown, because this dark paint can change the lecture from the laser. So let's consider this. Or if you are too cold, can give you a less value because of the contraction of the vessels, of course. And it's not possible to make a mistake like this. Just as an extra information, we have the blood oxygen levels in this chart, taken in account from the sea level. Because in the altitude, the ones we live in La Paz, we all know that these values could change, right? So just extra information, it's according to the place you live. And now let's go with the ophthalmoscopy, the one that it's possible to make us get in confusion. When we talk about ophthalmoscopy, we must consider that here in Bolivia, for example, we don't develop this procedure all the time because we usually don't have the device in the emergency room. I tell you by experience. I only get it in 2 big hospitals here in La Paz and in 1 clinical, a private clinic. So there is no way to get it easier. In other countries, in some other places, you really need to develop this procedure because, well, it's a basic investigation. Sometimes you can find brain injuries just developing the ophthalmoscopy, or can find acute complications or chronic complications becoming acute troubles from diabetes or hypertension or after an accident, a car crash, maybe you have to check into the eye for looking for retinal troubles because of the impact at the moment. So let's see. It's, in my opinion, very important to do it. It's useful. Stacy, can you hear me?
Hi, teacher.
Hi, please, can you read this slide, please?
Okay. Ophthalmoscopy, a non-invasive procedure developed by a doctor. An ophthalmoscope allows the doctor to examine all parts of the eye, the iris, lens, retina, and optic disc. For best results, the examination is done with dimmer or lowered light to allow to the field to maximally dilate, or with a topical mydriatic solution may be applied to the eye to aid dilatation. The patient is asked to fix a target for the duration of the test.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. So you can see a non-invasive procedure. Non-invasive means no pain. We don't have to get into the body. Just checking into the eye with a light. And sometimes you have to dim the pupil. You have to open this with medication. Sometimes it's not necessarily, and it's according to the experience you have on developing this. According to your practice, according how well prepared you are for developing this procedure. That's why it's very important. This is a procedure that is scheduled, that you are going to the hospital just for evaluating this, you get the topical mediatric solution. Well, maybe some of us got the opportunity to feel this, but when you get this mediatric solution, while finishing the study, you have to stay seated for around 1 hour or maybe 1 hour and a half. It's according to the medication they used. Because the pupil is open, all the light is getting into, and it's not possible to watch, to see around. In the emergency room, in the places I had to develop this, we of course don't use the topical mediatric solution. We only check into the eye with the ophthalmoscope. So taking in account, we have the parts of the ophthalmoscope. Again, we have to consider them as an important fact. maybe just as an extra information, because well, it's important to get it. We have the viewing window, the lens wheel for clarifying, for changing the resolution of the image we are checking. The lens power scale for checking how we are getting into, right? The light adjustment collar, well, it's necessarily for not hurting the patient during the procedure. Of course, the power base and handle, taking the device. We have the mirror, we have the color adjustment button, because according to the color, you can look for different structures and different, well, maybe some variations about it. You have aperture adjustment wheel. You have the light adjustment. Let's consider this. I think it's important. And we have two ways to develop this procedure. The direct method, like the doctor is getting so close to the patient. And the indirect method. The indirect using an extra lens for getting into the eye. Of course, the indirect method really needs more practice, more, well, maybe more accurate to check this into the eye with an extra lens. I always develop the direct method. That's why it's easier for me, but it's according to your own experience. How it works? Well, that's how the light gets into the eye, and the lens is here, of course, and you have the chance to adjust with the wheel the resolution of this and check into the eye. You have the chance to check the retina, the fovea, the nerve, the optic nerve, the disc of the optic nerve, like this picture, the blood vessels, and then get an idea how it is going on. Going to the indirect procedure, we have all of this crazy device. Yeah, we have the extra lens, and according to this lens, you have to get closer or wider in order to check into the eye. That's why it really needs more practice. And this is how it really looks with the mediatric solution. The eye gets in this shape, exactly the same, and this is the image you can see. This is from a patient coming from a trauma. You can see here hemorrhage, some X-rays. You can see the blood vessels, the optic disc, the macula. Well, just a general view of this, but you can see the differences, the details we are taking in count. Here we have some diagrams in order to check the information we are considering. Just as an extra information, read all of this, please, for catching the vocabulary. And tomorrow during the workshop, we can talk when these lesions appear, if you want, but it's important. More lesions checking that are being checked during the ophthalmoscopy. So following them, it's possible to make a properly diagnosis. Now I have this diabetic retinopathy. That's the image, the typical image on this, right? And then we got this slide. When we have the optic disc with edema, the hypertensive retinopathy, grade 3rd and 4th. Look at this. Retinal vascular occlusion. It's a cause of blindness, acute blindness. The intraocular hemorrhage, it looks like this. And the optic disc pallor, just take it into account for practicing, for checking the differences between them. This is an extra slide just for checking the acute retinal necrosis, how it's going on. And well, the changes that are going through the time, just for consider the vocabulary, please take it in count. And a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? We all know about it. we all need to really consider that these procedures, the non-invasive ones that we are checking tonight, are for showing how important is our job here. And this is the basis of the medical investigation, the vital signs. When we consider that we have a patient with hypertension, for example, we really need to ensure taking the blood pressure. That's why we are checking it again. Patient with tachycardia, the pulse, or with I don't know, with respiratory disturbance, for example, asthma, you need to consider the respiratory rate. And as you could see, there are some abbreviations to take in account all the time because, well, it's very important to consider the situation as a whole. Basic investigations, as you could see, are the basis of this, are the most important part. And well, in my opinion, that are activities that we all develop, we all make all the time. No matter if you're a nurse, a doctor, or you are in another health branch, we all develop these activities. We have the chance to do it, right? Let me send you the slides. Give me a minute, please, to upload this to my phone, and then I'm gonna upload it to the Zoom chat. During this time, please fill the pool attendance, okay? I'm sending it. Can you watch the pool?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay,
Now
now
yes.
okay, perfect. Let's fill this. Okay. No. Okay. Okay, thank you for the ones that are telling me done. Yeah. Let me send to the Zoom chat. I hope it works in the way you expect. Please let me know by a message if you could download the slides. Okay, I'm sending it now. Okay, okay. Okay, the attendance is taken. Thank you. About well, the slides are uploading. Give me a minute. It's too low my internet tonight. I don't know what's wrong with this. What's going on? It's almost ready. Okay, take the slides and please let me know that you got it. Got the slides or something like that by the message, okay? If there is not possible to watch it, please let me know and we are going to correct it. Thanks for your participation. As I was telling you in the previous, in module 1, I'm going to check who's into the Zoom session, yeah, or who's not using this, we can say Machiavellicus opportunity, because it's important to stay there. Okay. Let me see. Oh. Oh. No. Okay. No, it's not. I'm having trouble with this. Let's try to do it again. Okay, it's uploading again. I'm sorry. It's out of my hands. I don't know what's going on with my book. It's running mad. I'm really sorry. I have to correct it until tomorrow, please. Okay. Please, I just want to know. Okay, can you watch the file, the slides?
Nope.
Nope, not yet. Okay. Let's cross fingers. If it doesn't work, 2 minutes more, I'm gonna send you back your personal WhatsApp, okay? But please don't share this. Well, it's not
Okay, no
working.
problem.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm gonna send it by your personal WhatsApp following the attendance, okay?
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Yes, it's not possible to make it. I'm sorry. Give me some minutes to do this. Thank you for your patience, for staying here this extra time, and see you tomorrow. The workshop role, I'm gonna send it to the WhatsApp group, okay? Following the last one we had on the past Tuesday, and after that maybe the places are changing a little bit, okay?
Okay, teacher. See you tomorrow. Bye. Good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, teacher.
Bye.
Okay, let's close this. So everything is